Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am back with another video. I know it's been a while. This time we're going to be changing the rear suspension on your Mercedes-Benz S Class S500 W220. So we're going to be working inside the car, so take whatever precautions you need to protect the interior. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this plastic cover on this rear suspension link, and it's held up by these four or five quick clips, and just pry them out and the cover comes off. It's not too difficult, it's pretty easy, just got to work with it. But there you can see it's off, nice and easy. And now we're going to remove the nut on this bolt right here closest to the exhaust. Now if you see this exhaust right there and wonder why yours doesn't look like that, that's because that's the custom exhaust that I've made. It's out of stainless steel, 304 stainless. So if you're interested, leave a comment down below. All right, so we're just going to remove this nut. I like to use a breaker bar just to get these nuts loose. And then after that, I'll come in with a ratchet and a wrench and remove them. Also, if you like this video and you like this content, there's ways to donate to the channel. Please donate in relevance to how much you're getting out of this video. I really appreciate it, and it helps keep the channel going. Thanks very much. All right, so now we're just going to remove this bolt and nut right here, and then also this nut on the very end. And this one, once again, we're just going to use the breaker bar for all these nuts because they are pretty tight, but the breaker bar makes it really easy to remove, or at least get it loose. And don't worry about the tools needed. I'm going to put links for all the tools that you're going to need in the description below, and you'll just have to click on the link and you'll get the tools, including this nice pry tool right here to remove this service access door that you're going to need to remove to gain access to the suspension. Go ahead and set that off to the side, and this is probably the hardest part of this whole suspension job. That nut right there. I don't know what Mercedes was thinking, but yeah. So go ahead and remove those nuts right there, and be sure to use a magnet because you don't want to drop a nut inside of the chassis. Who knows what that'll lead to. So keep a magnet handy. That's a little pro tip there. And then we'll just remove our air fitting right here and try not to damage the hose. You don't want to nick that hose and get an air leak. So be careful. And then just remove that little coupler fitting right there. And then after that, you can slide off the air fitting that connects to the hose. And then you can just set it off to the side. Now that cable connects to the chassis and it's for the suspension. Just go ahead and disconnect that wire. And then we'll come back and we'll lift up the car with a hydraulic jack, or we'll lift up the suspension with the hydraulic jack just so that we can remove that bolt. We'll find that sweet spot just to remove it. It can be a little tricky because there's still some load on it, and that's why it'll get stuck. All right, so now that our suspension is down, or the bolts are removed, we can lower our suspension. And you can see right there, the suspension just pretty much slides down nice and easy. And you don't have to really unbolt too much. This is the only thing you're going to have to unbolt. That little suspension link. You don't have to unbolt the other tie rod that kind of connects to it. And okay, so that little wire right there just connects to a little clip. Go ahead and unclip that. Really simple. And now your suspension is ready to come out. I have it bolted at the top just to show you, but you're going to want to hold that suspension or put a jack underneath it just so that it doesn't fall too aggressively. But yeah, this suspension job is super easy. I mean, I think this suspension job is easier than the front suspension. Even though a lot of people do say that the rear suspension is more difficult to remove and replace, I don't think so. I think the front suspension's a lot more difficult. This is really easy. All right, so now that you have your suspension removed, we're going to get our new suspension, and we're going to use the hardware that comes with our new suspension. Do not reuse old hardware. So we're going to just take that fitting and screw it in. And manufacturer suggests that it's 5 Newton meters. So that's pretty much just hand tighten. And that's what I'm doing here. Just giving you a little tight snug, but not too tight. Don't want to cross thread anything, and that could lead to leaks. And so now that we have our new suspension ready, we're going to go ahead and install it the same way that we removed it. So we're going to go bushing in first. And how I like to do it is slide it through or over the brake line. And this one you're just going to kind of have to play with. Just be delicate, take your time. You don't want to damage the brake line, or you don't want to rip the new boot going over the brake heat shield or the brake dust shield. That has some sharp edges and you can nick the boots. So be careful, take your time, pay attention, and it'll be easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Easy peasy Japanesey.
Sorry, sir. We're not allowed to say that anymore. It's lemon squeezy now.
Yeah, but
I think it's fine if he's Japanesey.
As you wish. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
All right, so now we're just kind of working with it, getting it up into that suspension cavity right there. And just take your time and fish around. Make sure you pay attention to the orientation of that reservoir. You want it facing left. Once you get it locked in and fitted, use a jack to hold it in place, and then double check just like that, just to make sure that it's in place. And then pretty much you're good to go. You can go and start tightening down the suspension bolts right there. Use some Loctite. I like this Loctite right here because you don't have to clean the threads. It's formulated for dirty threads. So now we're just going to torque everything down to spec, and torque is really important on suspension components because you don't want anything backing out. But the Loctite, it adds a little bit of insurance. And once again, there's that exhaust. So on to placing these bolts back onto the suspension at the top. Remember, be careful because you don't want to drop them. And these are new bolts that come with the suspension, so use new hardware for the top part. And now what we're going to do is remove that little white plug. I just left it in until the final installation, and we're going to insert our air hose all the way down until it lines up with that red mark. So you can see that red mark right there lines up with the fitting, and give it a little pull just to make sure that it's seated and it's not going to pop back out. So we can see there that it's nice and snug and it's not going to pop out. All right, so now we're just going to torque down these bolts right here and make sure that they're nice and tight. And once again, I don't know what Mercedes was thinking, but I just hand tightened that nut because couldn't get a wrench in there. All right, so now we're going to put the cap on and we're all finished. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.